Hello, today I'm joined by Anne Wooty in New Zealand. I had to stop myself going to New Zealand, but how are you, Anne?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, Wooty, that's interesting. My name's actually Wade French, but my husband for some reason calls me Wooty. Nobody knows why.
It's not your real surname?
No.
Oh, right.
No. Yeah.
So what's your name?
Wade French.
Oh, Wade French, right, because it says Wooty on the email, so I was a bit confused.
Well, understandably, yeah, I don't know. He just he plays World of Warcraft all the time, and he spends more time playing my character, right? So he called his character Wooty, and then transferred that name to me. Yeah, so he's Wooty on World of Warcraft.
So you are a World of Warcraft manifestation in the real world.
It would seem so. I'm magical as well, which is really cool. I'm a wizard on the World of Warcraft.
Oh,
he plays wizard characters. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So you got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago, I think, and you wanted to talk about homeopathy, but it's also 11:11 today, and it's going to be 11:11 GMT in about 59 minutes on the 11th of the 11th, which is interesting.
I know, and I got with my husband on the 11th of the 11th at 11 a.m.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
25 years ago today.
Wow. So happy anniversary.
Thank you. And actually, there's the freaky thing about that is I found out recently that I was brought up, I didn't find out recently I was brought up a Catholic. I knew I was brought up as Catholic, right? But I found out recently.
You kind of can't miss that.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It took me years to get over it.
Yeah.
So I'm recovering. Oh, I have recovered. Anyway, I married, right, in my first Holy Communion, Jesus Christ our Saviour, on the 11th of the 11th as well, when I was 8 years old.
Numbers.
Yeah, right. They're everywhere. I had my son on September 11, 2001.
Whoa.
Whoa, big day. Yeah.
Was a big day.
Yeah, not a good day to have a baby. It's like, okay, the world's ending. Great. What have I done? You know?
Yeah, but it didn't end, and those mothers are going down. But so have you been doing homeopathy for your whole life since you became a recovering Catholic? I want to go to one of those meetings, like Recovering Catholics Anonymous. Hi, I'm Mark. I used to be a Catholic.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm all better now. Yeah. Well, no, in fact, I've only been a homeopath as such for a couple of years. So I did. It took me a long time to find out when I grow up. Some of us adults are a bit like that.
But you knew you were magic when you were little, right?
I knew that I was
magical.
Magical. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And even more so now.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was kind of called to be a homeopath because I really didn't know what I was doing. I was whitening people's teeth.
Oh, really? Could you come around and do mine? Because I've been...
Yeah, just get them in there. Yeah.
30 years of smoking. I just hang on. That's quite funny you say that.
Okay.
Yeah, because this arrived yesterday.
Oh, no way. Oh my God.
Yeah, since I've been on YouTube, I've been like, Jesus, everybody's got white teeth except me. And all the Americans are watching go, oh yeah, it's very English. He's got crap teeth like Austin Powers. So anyway,
well,
you were like a dentist, were you, before?
No. I moved. I just do all these things, right? I just do all these things. Yeah, and so I moved from Wellington to Tauranga, which is a massive story on its own. But when I got here, a friend of mine, he was doing a franchise of teeth whitening down in Wellington, and he rang me up and he said, "Are you doing anything?" And I said, "No." And he says, "Do you want to whiten teeth?" And I said, "Okay." So he sent me a kit, and he goes, we're just on the phone. So it's like, just, do it like that. And he just told me over the phone how to do it. So I just kind of muddled my way through it.
Through life or teeth whitening?
Everything. Just everything. Oh, exactly right. I've done lots and lots of different things. So I eventually got a little bit of training in the teeth whitening, which you really didn't need a lot anyway, to be fair. I was literally painting people's teeth with a little wee paintbrush, right? Get the stupid expression on their face like this, and then paint their teeth, and then they give you lots of money for it.
Yeah, cool.
You put this flashlight. It's the light that does it, you see.
Well, yeah, I've got
So
a little UV here.
it's got to come with a light.
I was thinking of doing a live video just with this on in the dark.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. How long you expected to sit like that, by the way?
I put it on for 20 minutes while I'm making dinner for the kids. So it's no big. Then I catch myself in the reflection in the window, and I usually have loud music on. I'm like, and then I start dancing to myself.
Yeah, you'd have to.
While I'm waiting for the pasta to boil.
Yeah. Oh,
so anyway,
serious.
teeth whitening. What else? What else have you done?
Oh, okay. So lots of sales stuff, really. Yeah, just sort of lots of sales stuff. I knocked on people's doors, actually giving away security alarms for quite a long time. That was pretty fun. But anyway, so I was called to do homeopathy, and the universe just said, right, this is what you're doing now. And so off I went. I had no money. It's like I need to get a loan to do this. And it was 4 years. And in my first year, my daughter had premature twins and moved into my house with them.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
We had three kids.
Yeah.
And then we had premature twins. So we had 5 kids under the age of 5 at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How old are they now?
The twins are 10, and then the 12, 14, and 16.
Wow. Yeah, that's hard out. That's hard out.
I know what it's like to have premature twins in a house.
Yeah.
Kind of full on.
Yeah, it is. Yes, yeah. But I mean, yeah, I was only back up, because they were my grandchildren. So.
Well, how good is that? Lucky daughter.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When they screamed, I went out. I did spend, So my husband and I have an ice cream truck. We've got 2 ice cream trucks right now.
Is that just for personal consumption or a business?
Yeah, it's a business. Yes, one of them was enough for personal consumption. Geez, we had to stop eating that. It's really yummy. Mr. Whippy, it comes from England.
Mr. Whippy, I used to do a joke about Mr. Whippy, but I'm not. It's a visual one, so I can't do it now.
Okay, I've heard a few, but probably not now. Yeah. So we've got 2 ice cream trucks. Anyway, so
cool.
I was doing homeopathy. He was working, keeping the family going with the ice cream truck, and all these people living with us. The grandchildren have moved in, very young and obviously very small. Yeah. And so I proceeded to do my course. Well, into my last year, so my 4th year, right at the very beginning of that course, my husband just took himself off to the hospital. Just one Monday morning, he's going, I feel like shit, I'm going to the hospital. Now, if a man does that, there's something wrong, right? Because you can't get them to the bloody doctor, and he's taking himself to the hospital.
Wow, yeah.
And so I've got the twins on that day. It's Monday's twin day. They'd moved out by now, right? Because they're 3 by the stage. They'd moved, but I was at home with them. Anyway, so he goes to the hospital, and I can't see him again until 8 o'clock that night. And when I find out that he, after the test that they managed to do, he's only got 5% kidney function as he goes into the hospital.
Whoa.
Yeah. So if he hadn't gone in that day, he would not have made it much longer, because they're really important, the old kidneys.
Yeah.
So the next day, because Tauranga it's a small, it's getting bigger, but the hospital's not that great. So they went over to another city, which is an hour away. So took him over to Waikato, and he stayed there for a month. He had 10 plasma transfusions and 3 rounds of chemotherapy. So what actually it turned out, his kidneys were just destroyed by his own immune system over a really short period of time. And it's a disease they call anti-GBM. So it's autoimmune, right? Autoimmune, your body is attacking itself. It's doing an overhealing process. In this particular case, it just took out his kidneys. What I have just kind of put together over these last few years and realized, because the doctors haven't got a clue why this happened, you know. They really, well, they just don't know anything about that, you know, why the body attacks itself and that sort of carry on. Anyway, it was his teeth, okay, comes back to teeth again. So he had a rotten tooth in his head for about, it was years, you know, but it was asystematic, which meant he had no symptoms at all, but it's a rotten tooth. And that tooth was putting poison into his system for years without causing him any distress or anything. I mean, he was getting, you know, in his behavior, he was getting angry because he was getting full of toxins and didn't know why, and would just feel like shit, you know, and you're just feeling like rubbish, but you don't know why. There's no pain in your head, there's no toothache, kidneys not hurting, you know, we're just feeling like shit.
This is really weird. See, 3 years ago, I had a tooth. I was in Marrakesh, and the dentist, I didn't understand what she said. It basically whipped out the roots of one of my back tooth, and then it cracked. And then the dentist said, you've got to take it out. And I kept it in because I just didn't want to, I don't know, I was very attached to it. And I'd read up about how if you have a tooth out, it affects the whole energy system.
Yeah, all of it.
And I was really like, I kind of lived in denial with it. And I was angry. And I had very similar symptoms to what you just said. But eventually I bit the bullet and had it out last year.
Right.
And I felt a lot better since.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there is that. You can't have something poisonous in your head, can you? At the end of the day, I've had
mercury when I was a kid. I had to have the mercury removed. I've still got one tooth with a mercury filling in. I haven't had removed yet. So yeah, we're full of poison all the time. Anyway, so I'm just sort of connecting with that. But so he had all this poison, and it was causing his body to overreact, and then eat his kidneys. Is that what happened?
Yeah, well, your teeth all line up to different meridians and to different organ systems, and it just so happens that the tooth that was rotten goes directly to the kidney system, and that just happened to be what went wrong with him.
When there were no symptoms,
so
one day he felt terrible and went to the hospital, and that saved his life.
He was feeling terrible for a long time, you know. Yeah, when I say a long time, I don't know, maybe like 6 months, something like that.
Did you do any homeopathy on
him? Yeah, I did. I was giving him remedies for all kinds of things. He was actually really prone to tummy bugs. Like, I've never met anyone that vomits all the time. Like, I never get tummy bugs. It's not my thing, you know. And this man was getting them all the time. I have to say, now that I think about it, he hasn't actually had a tummy bug for about 3 years. Yeah, all these things that he used to get, he's not getting. So when he went into the hospital, because he didn't have any kidney pain either, and that's another thing. It's not very helpful. At least if he had kidney pain, I would have had a starting point, you know. But all I've got is this angry husband who doesn't know why he's angry and just feeling really, you know, really shit just all over. So I think it was a couple of days before I could even get over to Waikato, because now I was left running an ice cream truck that I had never got in and out of the driveway on my own, which sounds ridiculous, but our driveway is really bad. And I had worked on the truck, but I'd sit at the bottom of the driveway, put the bells on, he'd come down and get it and bring it up and put it in the driveway, right? So all of a sudden, out of the picture, I'm having to go and get on the truck and start doing all that, because that's our income, right? But anyway, so I go over to the hospital, find out it's kidneys, and I give him organ kidney remedy support. It's called Berberis vulgaris, in particular, is this remedy. Yeah, and I just made sure he had that every day. I needed to hide it from the doctors, to be sure. They didn't want him to take anything, because they like to control everything that goes in, which is understandable if they've got, you know, all that. But it's a tiny weeny thing, and he just took one every day. Anyway, so after, he was going over to going over to the Waikato 3 times a week, so that's an hour each way to do hemodialysis. So you've got this tube going in here you know, dangling out like this, go and plug into the machine, sit there for 4 hours, drive back again. And he had to do that himself because I had to work and there's no one else. He wasn't going to take public transport to Hamilton. That's not the kind of man he is. Yeah. So, yeah, you know, he bought himself a nice new car actually and drove to Hamilton. So you can't keep doing this hemodialysis coming out of here because it goes into your arteries, right? Your main blood supply, and it's just not viable to keep doing that. So, and also it's expensive, and you've got to go to the hospital, right? So the next step they do with people, and this people with diabetes is generally the ones that have got kidney failure. Like 90% of the people that were with him had diabetes. So then you go for this thing called peritoneal dialysis. Have you ever heard of any of this?
No.
Okay, I hadn't either. So peritoneal dialysis is really, we had to go along to the hospital for a week. So the two of us had to go and stay over in a hotel for a week in Hamilton. Because when you've got, one of the worst things about having your kidneys fail is that your brain actually doesn't work anymore, right? Because your body's so toxic, you can't get rid of anything. Your eyesight goes bad again because you're full of toxins, but you can't think.
Yeah.
But you just can't. So we had to sit in a classroom for a week, right, and learn with these other people how not to get poisoned by doing the next phase of our life, which was peritoneal dialysis. So they stick a tube inside your belly. Just an operation, yeah, just stick it into the cavity that surrounds your organs in your belly, right? So that stays there for a week and wait for it to heal. And then you go along to this class and they teach you how to fill your body with the fluid that then sits in the peritoneal cavity for just a few hours. You flush it in, flush it out, you know, so you take this stuff home and you do it at home 3 times a day until your wound is healed, and then you can do it overnight. Yeah, it's gross. It's just awful. It is just awful. Like you can imagine, one minute there's this man who is perfectly fine, vibrant man, right? And next minute, he's got 12 different holes in his body that he didn't have before, and he comes with a tube.
Ooh.
Yeah, and our bedroom is now turned into this recycling, body fluid recycling thing. You know, it's just like, oh my God, that happened. That fucking happened. And so when this whole dialysis thing went on for about 6 months. When we got to the peritoneal stage, now that they were putting fluid inside his belly, right, he woke up one morning and it had leaked into a place that was surprising. We'll just leave it at that. And he panicked, got hold of the doctor, and they says, okay, we need to do another operation just to seal up where it's leaking out of you, still leaking into his body, but places it shouldn't be. So we'll go back and get the surgery and you know, fix that up. Well, they did that operation, but they got someone to do the operation on the other side. Now, this is how they get the students involved. This is like, it's a teaching hospital. He's got a scar like this, and we were told it was keyhole surgery.
It's a fucking
you know, and it's in his groin, and that's right in his groin. Yeah, so one on each side now. Anyway, because blood tests obviously, excuse me, blood tests obviously going on all the time. They had to stop the dialysis, put him back on the hemo one because of the leaking. And after a few days, his kidneys started to function. And they got up to something like 15%. And then they did test a few days later and they were increasing. And this has never happened before. And they were like, okay, we don't know what's going on, Mr. Kylo. It looks like your kidneys are starting to kick in. We don't know why, but we're not going to put that dialysis tube back in again we're just going to wait and see what happens. So he still had the one in his belly, but they weren't able to use it. So so they took that one out. And then after, it just got better and better and better, just over the next month. So he came home, and he hasn't been on dialysis now nearly 2 years.
Oh, good on him.
Yeah. So we've had remedies for his anemia, because he's been very anemic, because when they give you chemotherapy, they call your red blood cells, and your ability to grow more. He's on remedies for scar tissue. So this has been a massive learning curve for me. I mean, I was still a student, right? And finishing my assignments in my 4th year, running the ice cream truck. My mother died. I got married. Yeah, all in the same year. Actually got married the year before, now that I think it. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Yes, so he's now, what he now works, he can only last, about 4 or 5 hours. He's got 50% function in his kidneys, and probably lost about 15 years of his life, I suppose, because they won't come back any further from where they are. And all we can do now is just manage. He goes in saunas 3 times a week now, because you can't, his kidneys aren't getting all the rubbish out, so he sweats it all out instead, which is working incredibly well. So he doesn't have any edema or swelling or anything like that. And he's sorry, he's functioning. Yeah, and he can think a little bit. It's not that great. That's the hardest thing, actually. Is the cognitive side of it is tricky. But anyway,
You had a tough ride there.
Sorry?
You had a tough ride there.
Oh yes, there's only one story. Yeah, it's been interesting. Yeah. And I think if I hadn't been learning homeopathy at the time, he'd be just like everyone else. So we also, during this process, we sat in front of a team of transplant team. They've gone, Mr. Kylo, I'm sorry, but sorry, you're not going to come back from this. We've never had anyone, so we're going to put you onto the waiting list for a transplant, but we just have to wait for your body to stop attacking your kidneys, for that to happen. And that still hasn't happened. He's still got a bit of the antibodies going on in there. So yeah, he went on this waiting list, and I'm sitting there, because I'm so arrogant sometimes. I'm sitting there in front of the transplant team. I'm a homeopath, and this is not going to happen on my watch, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, just. And then, we never went back there. That team of people never saw us again. And I was going to give him my kidney, because I'm an O blood type, and O blood, we can actually donate to anybody, O positive. Take a bit of making things around a bit, but yeah, that's kind of where we were headed, actually. So thank God that didn't have to happen. Yeah. I like my kidneys where they are.
Yeah, they're meant to be there.
Yeah. So that's just, and there's story after story after story of people that have had, it's miraculous healing, but it's not. This has been around for nearly 200 years.
Well, more, hasn't it?
Well, I'm not sure. Hahnemann really got 1790, and it was interesting about the quinine, because the first remedy that he actually did his proving on was the Chinook bark in 1790. So that's when he first started proving them. But this guy was a doctor. He was a medical doctor, and a linguist and a chemist. He was such an incredible man of his time, and come out with this healing modality, which was used up until bloody Rothschild stuck his face in the mix somewhere in the 1900s.
Well, it's not it's just the Rockefeller Institute with medicine made all of that allopathic stuff mainstream, and then they spent so much money on the doctors, the training, the whole thing, to create this horrible system that we're in. But fortunately, people like you get called by their spirit to go
Yeah.
to homeopathy and to other healing modalities, and thank God you do, because I mean, this, I don't know if you know, but it's been a running story in my life about the royal family in the UK using homeopathy, but they kind of mention it and then it gets pushed to one side.
Yeah.
And my experience of it has been amazing. My former wife, she had terrible sciatica, and on the second pregnancy, I think, and it was homeopathy that cured it like instantly. And so I've seen it firsthand and understand it in a kind of layman's sense. So so carry on.
What concerns me, and I guess the reason I've kind of put my hand up, is because the teaching children in schools, like they're messing with our children on every level, as you well know, right? Yeah. And they are actively teaching children that homeopathy doesn't work. Like they're even bringing it up to tell them it doesn't work. Like, why not just leave it out altogether?
I've not. What's your experience of that? What have you seen?
Sorry, you've lost me.
What's your experience of that? What have you seen? What have you seen where the teachers are actively telling them that homeopathy doesn't work?
Oh, I saw it's in this country. It's part of the, I'm not actually sure 100% where I saw that, but I saw it recently and it really annoyed me. Yeah, it was a clip of children in the classroom and they were saying homeopathy is rubbish. It's a placebo. The old placebo.
Well, placebos work. What's the problem with that? It's like, how can they use that as an argument against it when there's so many studies that prove that placebos work? Because we heal ourselves with our mind as much as anything else. But I mean, I've been through this before with teachers, and I've told this story before, but one of my kids came home once and said they'd learned about the food pyramid, and they'd learned that bread was healthier than broccoli. And I was like, right, okay, I'm going to have to go and speak to this teacher. And this was also the same school that made my kids sit in a separate room because they had organic boiled eggs in their lunchbox. And because somebody was slightly allergic to eggs. And I went in and had it out with the headmistress. And she was like a robot. She wasn't like a human being. She was just reading policy like verbatim, which is what all these teachers are doing right now. I mean, I dropped my kids off this morning, as I do every morning, and had the same conversation with them about the mask, because at the moment in this particular school they're all wearing masks all day, and then they're made to walk. They're made to walk in a one-way system, and I said that's basically a satanic ritual. That is not child abuse. And the teachers, I was thinking about this before the call about how the teachers are gonna. I think a lot of teachers are going to commit suicide when they realise what they've been doing to the kids.
I'm really feeling.
When they wake up to what they've actually been doing to the kids, just repeat it. I mean, my eldest son it's a daily battle for him in school, not just with the teachers, but the other kids, to stand in his truth and in his power, because the teachers are actively saying, go and get your news from RTE, read the papers, and they're coming out of all this crap. And it's like, you're educated, but the problem is, of course, we know this, the more educated you are, the more brainwashed you are, especially in the system in the last 100 years.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, I completely...
It's indoctrinated, not educated.
Yeah, I said that in a video last week. It's indoctrination. And, they want to separate you from the parents and separate you from anything spiritual. I mean, there's a whole... education and birth, to me, are two of the biggest things that I want to help with in the future, if when this crap is over. And everybody should learn homeopathy. Everybody should learn growing and juice. I mean, if you, in fact, what you bring, by the fact that you brought up homeopathy, I remember I did a fast about 12 years ago for a week in Devon. I didn't eat anything for a week, and it was life-changing. And when I was there, I read this book by a guy called Dr. Jensen, and it's called Juicing Therapy.
Oh, yeah.
And it was written in the, I think, late 1800s, early 1900s. And I read it, and this is a guy who died falling off his surfboard at the age of 98. right?
Awesome. What a way to go.
And he had sensors, cancer curing sensors. He was curing, he knew exactly which vegetable did what and how it affected the body. And then you combine that with homeopathy, you combine that with meditation, you combine that with all holistic, maybe Reiki. I'm still a bit unsure about Reiki, but you've got no reason for hospitals except for broken bones and, surgery.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And we've got remedies we've got remedies that can heal bones faster than anything else. Give them some phytum when they're broken bone and it'll heal 10 times faster than before.
If you've got a broken bone, just sit a cat on your lap and let it purr, because the cat feel the bone.
Vibrate it together.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. I sent my children actually to the Rudolf Steiner school system because I was just
even that.
I found that. Sorry.
Even that doesn't go far enough for me.
Well, yeah. The thing that I did like about it, and I mean, you've not got a lot of choice, but they teach children to stay in their imagination for as long as possible, to have a relationship with themselves in their own head, instead of externally. And yeah, so as a result, I didn't let my children watch TV for years. We just didn't do that, and they just use their imagination, and they're really creative. They're different children, they're different adults in the world. They're a lot more creative than their peers now. And that's kind of all I was going for.
One of my twins is a daydreamer.
Right.
And he comes back from school, and his brother says, "Oh, he got into trouble because he was daydreaming again." I said, "Okay, that's good. You keep getting because daydreaming is good. Don't let anybody stop you daydream."
Yeah.
And the other one's like, they're like chalk and cheese. The other one's like, no, the rules. And I'm like, no, rules are there to be broken.
Yes. Yeah. And that's like, yeah. My grandchildren are the same. They're exact opposite. I learned that about families. If you're going to have, and you would have figured it out yourself, if you have two girls, they're going to be exactly the opposite of each other, because God is not good enough to give us people that are going to get on well, are they? Well, needs to be a challenge for us all.
So homeopathy, does your husband recognize the impact of the homeopathy?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, he's just so grateful that that I was able to do that, because if his life just would have been awful. I mean, he'd be still doing dialysis, or I'll be in pieces, So yeah, he's very grateful. He takes the remedies. He's got 4 or 5 different remedies beside him all the time, because he still needs to take them, especially for scar tissue and that kind of stuff. And there's times he doesn't, like if the doctor had given him pills, he would take those pills every day. But it's because it's like I've given them to him. He forgets. But that's all right. He still takes them pretty regularly. Yeah. Yeah. But you can help people with homeopathy in ways that you wouldn't imagine, like PTSD and grief. Grief is going to be the biggest thing that everybody is carrying around with them. And it ruins people's lives because they can't get over it. They just don't know how to get over it. And
grief has ruined my life numerous times.
Yeah, everybody. I don't think anybody can come into this existence and not have grief, And I grieved my whole life for somebody that was alive. And so that's kind of a possible thing as well. People think, oh, well, you only grieve for people that die. That's not true. We grieve for relationships. We grieve for all kinds of things, and all of us react to that grief in a different way. And all of us want to, different remedies will console different people's grief in the right way for them, and that's why it's...
Sorry, Anne, the remedies in homeopathy are based upon plants, right?
We have everything you can possibly imagine is made into a remedy. So we've got shells, we've got animals, we've got venom, we've got pus, we've got just plants. Yeah, lots of cute little plants. Snakes, spiders.
Oh, nasty. I don't like spiders. Don't mention those.
No. Nobody likes spiders.
I love Spider-Man. I don't like spiders. It's weird. So from my understanding with homeopathy, it's like it's like a 1 in a millionth of essence of something goes into a pill or water or whatever, like a tiny drop in a swimming pool. And to me, I might be wrong, but to me, it's all about the frequency of what that is. And that frequency affects different things. So this guy, what was his name 300 years ago? Samuel
Hahnemann.
So Dr. Samuel Hahnemann worked this out.
Yeah, he did. So, for example, to make a remedy, it can be, when they tell you about it and they say that it's a drop of water in an ocean, they just want to make it sound as ridiculous as possible.
No, but I understood. When I was like, yeah, that makes sense. It made sense 2 years ago, but I can see why other people who go, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. The shark is going to find the drop of blood in the ocean, by the way. But
No, exactly. And this reminds me of, I mean, it sounds like a kind of scientific approach to what witches knew for years and years and years. You know, when you think of what they put into cauldrons and stuff. I mean, a witch is really somebody who just understood the natural world and how things around you in nature could heal you or hurt you.
Yeah. So that's and so that's herbalism. So there's naturopaths and there's herbalists and there's homeopaths, and the naturopaths and the herbalists think that homeopaths are nuts. They actually, they really do. We get such a bad rap. If I tell people in this country that I'm a homeopath, they will roll their eyes or groan or like a lot of people are too polite to me, and I respect that, but I walk away and they go, oh, she's a crazy woman, you know, I'm a witch. You know, like it's, what have we done here? So, you know, Masaru Emoto, you mentioned him yourself with the water, right? And the water memory, okay? Well, he's been largely discredited. If you have a look on Wikipedia, he's been discredited. Why? Because it's true, right? Water holds memory. Water is life, you know? Right.
This water I just drank came out of a well that's about 10 miles away, and it's sulfur water. And this this water was used up until about 100 years ago, funnily enough, same time as all the pharmaceutical Rockefeller stuff. There was, people would come from miles around to bathe in the water, and they even used it as a hospital because the water cured you. You know, it was just.
Well, sulfur's great.
Yeah.
Sulfur is one of our biggest remedies.
For 100 years, the people that own the land, I know the farmer is like 3rd or 4th generation who's finally doing something with this water. He there was an article in the papers in the 1950s about his granddad owning this farm and being on this healing water well. But then they were given so much subsidies by whoever to farm cows that they just kind of ignored the water. So they've been on a gold mine for 100 years without. But they've been working their nuts off farming cattle. So
Well.
And as soon as I see something discredited in the mainstream, I'm usually very interested in it. Have you ever read any of Lynne Mctaggart's works?
I haven't.
So Lynne Mctaggart was like a Lois Lane type journalist in the 1970s in America, and she did an undercover story on a doctor that was selling babies, and the book became a bestseller. And then from that, she got given an assignment to the UK to go and write a biography about one of the Kennedys, I think. And when she got there, she got really ill. So she went to see loads of doctors and didn't get healed and was desperate. So she ended up going to see homeopathists and all these quacks, right, as they're known, right?
Thank you.
Got healed. And she was like, what? So what's brilliant about Lynne Mctaggart is that she approaches everything as a hard-nosed journalist. So she won't put anything in her books that she can't verify from multiple sources. So her books are like impregnable in that respect. You can't rip them to pieces. And she wrote a book then called What Doctors Don't Tell You, which is now turned into a newsletter and then a magazine in the UK, which I believe is still on the shelves in Waitrose, although they keep trying to take it off the shelves, but it's a fantastic resource for anybody. And then she wrote 3 books after that called The Field, The Bond, and The Intention Experiment, because all of her work over the last 30 years led her to understand about the 0-point energy field, or the unified field of energy, which all kind of ties in, I think, with this type of stuff, because you've got, I can't remember his name, but the doctor 300 years ago who basically broke it down into this frequency range and then created these remedies. And then you've got in the 1920s, you've got Royal Raymond Rife, who created a machine which anybody could build for $1,500. Now, if you go to, if you look for Spooky 2, you can find the instructions and the parts to go and build one of these machines, which was again a frequency machine where he would tune into any illness or any part of the body and fix it through frequency. Which is what,
I've got one of them.
Which is what President Trump's been talking about since the beginning of this, and they still keep taking the piss out of him. But he was talking about light frequencies, and this comes to med beds, right? This, I think, have you heard about med beds?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It all makes sense. So what I'm getting to is that everything you're saying about homeopathy ties in with everything that I understand about the universe, which ties in with what Tesla said. If you want to understand the universe, think in terms of frequency, because we are frequency, and every single part of us is frequency, and everything has a consciousness. So consciousness, right? Which is why you can put shells in something to create a remedy. That's my understanding.
Yeah. So what Hahnemann did, it's the basis of that like cures like. So if you've got something in your body that is behaving in a certain way, in a certain vibration, the best thing to do is match that vibration as closely as you possibly can, and it cancels it out.
So this is how they've conned everybody with vaccines, right? Because the concept there is you put chicken pox in to stop you getting, but then they put in 100 other ingredients that nobody, even the doctors, don't read the ingredients.
No.
Speaking to a doctor in the US about a month ago, it took 30 years before he read the ingredients of vaccines. As soon as he read them, he gave up his career. He was like, I can't. So doctors are also going to be committing suicide on a mass scale when they realize the damage they've been doing to people.
I know, that's a real worry. One of the biggest things homeopaths are doing is a thing called the CEASE program, which is where we get rid of the damage from vaccines out of people's bodies. And
you do that with homeopathy?
Well, I've done it for my grandchild. Like, I'm not actually practicing because I've got to run these ice cream trucks, you know. But yeah, my grandson. So I've got 4 grandchildren. Only one of them has been vaccinated, and he's also the only one that's got chronic nasal obstruction, allergies to dairy, and snores like a trooper. You know, he had his tonsils out. Yeah, he's you know, and it's just all. My daughter didn't listen to me.
Well, look, I know all about that. I know all about that.
Yeah. So it's so the CEASE program is used to actually undo the damage using homeopathy, and it reaches us on an energetic level.
Yeah.
So so we've got remedies. So for example, you've got a cat that you are allergic to the dander of that cat, for example. You could take the cat hair, take it to a homeopathic pharmacy and get them to turn that into a remedy.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just like that.
This is the same reason why eating local honey helps enormously with
yes,
that thing.
Hay fever, asthma. Yeah, exactly.
Which is all, which is all ancient knowledge, ancient wisdom.
Yeah, and the silly thing is, there are 300 million people worldwide using homeopathy today, because Russia, India, China, all of them, they all use homeopathy. They all use it. Yeah. But, you know, somehow it was taken off us, and then people are ridiculed. Did you know that the Queen's homeopath was killed not long ago?
No, I didn't.
Hit by a car on the bridge in London. Accidentally knocked off his bike. Yep, last year.
Well, that's probably maybe because the Queen's dead. He's got nobody to treat anymore.
The clone wasn't buying the clone.
Yeah, so you probably got to the point where, you know, your Majesty, your percentage of reptilian blood's so high now, this doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was funny. Well, not funny, obviously, but yeah.
Well, I've got an idea, business idea for you. Why don't you, create the homeopathy ice cream van, and out of one window you can serve ice creams, and out the other window you can serve cures.
Oh, look, I would love to. And I've got my brochure sitting there. And guess how many people have picked up my brochure?
Oh, well, I bet a lot. Yeah.
Ooh, no.
Oh,
No,
really?
that's the whole thing. People don't believe it. They have been brainwashed into believing it. I'm not allowed to advertise in this country. Okay, I can advertise, but I'm not allowed to say that I can help anything. I can literally just say that I'm a homeopath, which most people don't even know what that is over here anymore. You know,
Yeah.
there's a whole generation that've got no idea what that means. If I advertise and I say anything even remotely wrong, the advertising police will ring me up and make me change it. And they do that all the time. They've got a team of people in this country to look at our websites and make sure that nothing goes up that shouldn't.
Which tells you everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in the paper shop. I was in the shop yesterday, and it was on the front cover. It was like, "Thank God, the world breathes a sigh of relief. Vaccine coming out." And I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" I'm like,
I will die. I said to my husband,
"Shit."
yeah, I know.
Mind blowing to me.
I says to him, I'll go on a hunger strike if they try and force a vaccine. And then I thought, no, go on a water strike. It's quicker. I'm not going to take any shit vaccine. And there's so many people in this country. No.
End of story. It's not going to happen anyway. I know it's not going to happen.
I don't think so. No.
So
I
look,
don't think so.
let's thank you for telling your story and everything. Anybody watching this, is there anything you can give to people, like, practical about their own health in terms of homeopathy? Because it can be, I think, did you send me an email? Somebody sent me an email saying, go and buy this homeopathic kit, because you can buy these kits for yourself, can't you? Like,
You can.
and learn, and you
can.
don't have to be do 4 years of study. You can actually self-help a little bit, can't you?
Yes, yeah, you can. It is, I'd say, find a homeopath. I mean, it's really good to take care of your own health, and part of our job is to actually to teach people, how to do that. And those kits are great. But the way you need to get a book as well that tell you, so you've got this kid, for example, that's teething. Okay, there's about 5 different remedies for a teething child, and it all depends on how that child is feeling while they're teething. If you've got a child, for example, that every time you pick them up and give them a cuddle, they'll start throwing, put me down again, or give me that toy, and then they throw the toy back in your face, and that kind of kid, there's a remedy for that kid, right? There's another remedy for the kid that is teething, and all they want you to do is cuddle them. Don't pull me down, just hold on to me and just be nice to me, So there's this whole range of remedies suit personalities, and it's really complicated. I wish I had.
That makes sense to me. There was a really amazing book I read, I don't think about 15 years ago, called Eat Right for Your Type, which is like eating the right food.
Blood type thing.
Blood type. And it completely logical to me. It makes complete sense. When I'm cooking dinner in the evening, one son loves salad, like I do, so we have salad, but my other son just won't eat it at the moment. So I'm just forcing him. And sometimes I sit there and I'm like, you've got to eat everything on your plate, otherwise it's early to bed. And I was like, I'm just repeating what was told to me when I was a kid. So I'm like trying to get into tune with him. So I'm sneaking nutritional things into stuff that he likes, and that's what you have to do. You adapt for everybody's personality and
and that's exactly it with homeopathy. When you go and see a homeopath, you're there for an hour and a half, and we want to know everything that makes you tick, how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your relationships has everything to do with what's going on in your body.
That's also interesting, because a doctor will never ask you that. And a lot of people have actually, those questions you just said, a lot of people will have absolutely no idea what the answers are. Because they don't know how they feel about that, because they don't know anything about themselves. They're just acting on autopilot most of their life, right, without realizing it.
Yeah.
So you tend, if there's 300 million people using homeopathy, they tend to be spiritually aware people that are seeking out things where they've been failed elsewhere.
Well, India's one of those countries. They're really spiritual people anyway, aren't they? You know, that's kind of their culture. Vibration and energy is kind of, they know all about that. No one's trying to convince them that thing's real, because they already know. And there's so many of them, they couldn't afford to have modern medicine like we have. You just couldn't afford it.
Yeah, but it gets forced on them. It gets forced on them. When I lived in Morocco, you'd see these villages. The villages were all just built out of homemade bricks and stuff like that. And I've said this before in another video, but then right in the middle of every village, even if in the middle of the mountains, there's this like really expensive bright light neon light building, and it's the pharmacy. And and they force the pharmaceuticals onto people that are earning £7 a day, and they're charging them like 50 quid for a prescription. It's like, what? You know, I've seen that nearly destroy lives many times, because it's so easy to control people. You know, and they forget. It's very quick how people forget remedies. But you know, I was my nan. I've got a picture of my nan upstairs. She died a couple of years ago, and she always came out of a line, or this would fix this. You know, it's things like simple stuff like dock leaves fix netting, stinging nettle bugs.
Right.
It's just like little bits of knowledge like that I've still retained from being a kid 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And, you know, try to pass that on to my kids, go for walks in the woods. I was out picking mushrooms the other day. You know, we're surrounded by magic. And you know, if I had my life again, I'd go back to studying the plants. I mean, that's one thing I hope I'm going to have time to do before I die, is really understand. I mean, plant medicine to me has been an enormous help over the last 10 years of my own journey.
Right.
You know, because
so what Hahnemann actually did all those years ago, and this is where he gets given so much grief, where they say that homeopathy isn't scientific, you know, has no scientific basis to it. You know?
Scientific.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's what they say. So what he did was, once he realized that he could take, for example, the bit of bark, the chinook bark, right? He added a bit of lactose to it. He ground it down into a paste, right? Then he added some alcohol to it. And then he pretty much just shook it around, you know? And then that took the energy of that plant and put it into the alcohol, right? And then what he found is that if you just keep doing that same thing with that same plant over and over and over again, and diluting, so we can start with the material, what we call a material dose, which would be the first time you've scraped it and turned it into something, right? If you spend like, got a good machine, we'll spend 4 or 5 days scraping, succussing, adding liquid, all the rest of it, that's when it gets diluted. And for us, it actually gets more powerful the more you do that to it, because it's released more of the energy of the compound of the plant is now energetically in this liquid. And so when you take it, if you get the right remedy, what you have disappears. And then you forget that you even had it. Now that gives us that's why people don't come back, because it's like, it's gone, and did I even have it?
Well, I had really bad back pain the other week, and I said on the video that there were about 5 healers got in touch and all did stuff on me. I was in agony, and then it goes, and then you've forgotten about it. It's a bit like, you know, cancer. You only know you've got cancer generally if you're having chemotherapy, because you can't fucking forget it, right? Because you get freak and blah blah blah. But cancer comes and goes, and we're healing ourselves all the time. Sometimes you need an assist. But you know, I was this morning. I was thinking it's not possible for me to get cancer. It's just not. I just don't believe. I just know it's not possible. So I don't have it, because I'm also every day alkalizing and, you know, taking steps every day because I understand that. But it is incredible how you are seen as, you know, the snake oil salesman. And the irony is that the people calling homeopaths snake oil salesmen are the snake oil salesmen themselves.
I know.
It just flips everything, which is totally satanic and barbarian and everything else.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if you've noticed, but irony is everywhere. Irony rules our lives.
It does.
And if you don't notice irony, you haven't woken up yet as well.
100%. So, do you believe in? Do you believe we're going into good times?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Like there was that shift that happened in September the 16th or 17th or something. I totally got that. I totally got that. I just went, yeah. I just felt better, you know. Just felt this real because I really feel shifts in energy, and that was a big one. That one. And I guess I read a lot of stuff. I listen to JCK. The reason I listened to that, because a lot of stuff that would have scared me, you know, a long time ago. That would have been really frightening to listen to that. But if I listen to something that gives me hope, and that's what that does, I can just put so much powerful quantum energy out into the universe and do my bit, you know.
Well, I was going to say,
I'm pretty sure that I am.
yeah, you
but
are.
I can do
We
my
all
work.
are. We all
Yeah.
are. That's what a light worker is. And I never understood what a light worker was until this year. And then it dawned on me, shit, I'm a light worker. I've been doing loads of light work.
Yes, me too.
Actually, for ages and ages, and then it starts dawning on you because JC's stuff is full of hope. But the reason why she's so popular is because she resonates truth, and truth, that frequency, you can't deny it.
Yeah.
But you can only deny it if you don't know what it is, you don't recognize it. You know, some people bounce off the truth, some people just align with it, and away you go. And that's what is going on worldwide at the moment. That's why it's the Great Awakening, because I've always seen, I love this analogy of the world being like a petri dish full of bacteria. And you introduce new bacteria, it's like tink, 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 poof, then the whole thing just suddenly changes.
Yeah.
The whole dish. And that's what's going on, because I think there's only a percentage of us that are required for this shift to really kick in. And
the 100th monkey, isn't it?
And it's going to be, I'm really excited about it, but at the moment, a lot of people are like really confused and terrified because they're seeing like Biden for president talking about masks and mandatory vaccinations and everything else. Just
not going to happen.
You just dissolve it with your frequency. Yeah.
Yep. Not going to happen.
So what can people do? What can people do to keep their frequency high from a homeopathic point of view? Anything?
From home, well, they just got to feel good. You know, feel good. If you're walking around feeling anxious, get yourself some rescue remedy, right? Rescue remedy is amazing.
Rescue remedy.
Rescue remedy. I use that all the time. I have heard that the Indian police force are taking a remedy called arsenicum album. If anyone wants to take arsenicum album, that is a prophylactic for COVID. That might make people feel a little bit better. Just to be happy, whatever it takes to make yourself be happy on a daily basis, and every minute on every day, do that. Right? Yes, because
I've said, over this year, people have said, so what do we do? What do we do? And I've said stuff like, well, grow your own vegetables, stand barefoot in the garden, filter water, make your own dinner, go for walks in nature. And people have gone, is that it?
Yes.
Like, well, yeah.
Laugh.
I think on one video,
Laugh.
I think I said juice some celery, and because when I juice celery, I feel amazing. You know.
Okay, that's a bit weird.
Well, I do. It makes me high. You know, so I drink it, and I'm like buzzing for hours.
Wow, cool.
You know, whatever it is, I think you're right. Whatever it takes to keep that vibe high.
Yeah, and that is what it is about. Because as soon as we start to buy into fear, you know, that's where the trap is, and it's fear is a trap because it builds on itself, and then you start, you know, being worried that you're afraid. You know, it just goes on and on. So.
Well, the problem is most people have been born into fear, so they don't know any different, which is why it's like Stockholm syndrome. And that's why breaking out of it is like, it's literally like, it's difficult it has been difficult for people. But anybody wants.
Well, see, I was brought up as this Catholic, right? So fear was my middle name. Yeah. And that's how everything was for me. So I spent my entire life trying to figure out how not to walk around in this world and be afraid of everything, including my own shadow, right? Yeah. So I started reading. I just read everything. I read Stuart Wilde 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah, right, 30 years ago. Yeah. Affirmations, first book I read in that line. And he talked about climate change. He's just spelled exactly what was going to happen, right?
continue.
Yeah, he did. So what I did, and what everyone can do, is cultivate their thoughts. Like, if you're having shitty thoughts, change them.
Yeah.
You're in control of what is going on in your own head, but people don't realize that, and they don't catch themselves thinking the rubbish and go, oh, actually,
11,
that doesn't make me feel any good. Is it 11:11?
Just hit 11. I've been doing that for a number. I used to employ a lot of people in a business, right? And I'd sit and do interviews with them, see how they were going, and I'd say, so how do you think you're getting on? And they'd go, yeah, no, great. And I go, stop, hang on. They go, what? I said, you just said, yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I said, yeah. I said, no, you didn't. You said, yeah, no. And then they were threatened initially, but then I broke it down and I said that your inner voice, something inside you saying no. I need to know what the problem is there. And I used to take them all to a hotel once a month and get them all to stand up and break down why they came to work and everything else. And it was an amazing experience, because two of the people there that came into the business, not high up, now run that business because they went through that. Well, I say because they might watch this and go, no, it was nothing to do with that. It's because I'm brilliant. But funnily enough, I got an email 10 years later from a kid that worked for me when he was about 17 when he came to work for me. Really tall basketball player, really great kid, but full of fear and full of nonsense in his head. And I was working on him all the time because I just wanted the business to be a great place to be. I bring in organic vegetables. Everyone could have a juice, and we do meditations, and we'd have people bouncing on. I was just trying all that stuff out just to see if it worked. I was trying to fix
Great employer, by the way.
Well, basically, I was trying to fix everybody because that's like, save the world.
Yeah. Oh yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hand up on that one.
I've learned that I've got to serve the world, not try to save it, because it's too tiring. But I got an email 10 years later from this guy who was like now 27, and he sent me this lovely email, and he said, "Dear Mark, I just want to thank you, because back then I thought you were talking a load of shit, but blah blah blah. I've learned all this stuff, and now I'm living in my dream house. I've got this dream relationship, and it's all because of the stuff that you told me. So I know."
Wow.
I know that this stuff is really important and works, and everybody should, explore it.
Yeah. And the thing is,
I don't get why people don't explore it.
I know, right? It's like, I refuse to be happy. I'm just not going to. I just want to be miserable and be horrible to everybody else because of it. It's
I mean, people using homeopathy, then hello, go and have a look.
I know. Well, they're brainwashed. It's just the media, isn't it? They've brainwashed everybody, and
I can't wait for the media to go down. I fucking hate them.
I'm so excited about that one. And over here, like, I'm watching Epoch Times. Do you read Epoch Times?
I get it. Yeah, that's the fun and gun guys in America that set up a paper to tell the truth about China, but also became a really big outlet in America for truth, because they tell the truth about what's going on in the news, right?
I have noticed this.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the only news I read, and I listen to you guys, and then we hear the news on the TV over here. They're just not going to tell us, like at the moment on Epoch Times, it says that Trump he's won Pennsylvania. Like, the president, they can't say that our Prime Minister has congratulated Biden on his win and has made a massive fuss about congratulating this man.
Your Prime Minister
is
currently under the control of the good guys, and she is gonna disappear when all this comes out, because that is one evil piece of shit, like we've got in charge of the UK as well, and Ireland.
Yeah, I know.
But I've got friends in New Zealand who think she's amazing, and then saying, "Nah, mate, she's brilliant," and I'm like, thank God you don't all think that.
No, well, I voted for her the first time, and it was mainly on personality and because I wanted National out. They're the same anyway, right? But anyway, and the illusion that National was going to be out, so she looked like a better choice. And she's as scary common as a bitch.
It's exactly the same as Obama was in the US. It's just like a spell.
Yeah.
Oh, this is different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. They put someone in front of you and yeah, she's a much better communicator, she's presentable. But, she, like as I just figured out the other day, she had a baby while she was being Prime Minister, but they never got married. And there's all this big thing about ruining the families and, you know what I mean? The whole...
She never really had a baby like Michelle Obama never had a baby because Michelle Obama's a man. It's just not possible.
This is our first baby you're speaking about here.
Yeah, I know. But none of the
what do you tell me? What do you think? I read something, but I have not told anybody what I read.
None of the babies in the royal family belong to their parents. So
Really?
No, of course not. I mean, Prince William is the son of King Juan of Spain, Juan Carlos. I can't remember his name. Everybody knows that Hewitt was Ginger's father.
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth II and Bill Clinton were both children of Winston Churchill. This stuff goes deep. But we're running out of time, so why don't we let's end on a positive note.
Yeah.
What can you tell me? I'm looking at you.
A positive note from me. Gosh, I've got nothing positive to say.
11. Let's say something positive.
Yeah. Wow. I think people, what I like for people that is going to help people find themselves a good homeopath, find themselves a really good breathing technique, and just control your thoughts. Think happy thoughts. If you're thinking horrible thoughts, change it and be happy. Find something that makes you laugh. At the beginning of exactly. We laugh at Mark.
Yeah, laugh at Mark.
Yeah.
My
at the beginning of every day.
My eldest son said to my youngest son last night, he said, "George, when you change the way you look at things you look at change." And I had a little giggle. I had a little giggle, and he said, and he turned to me and he said, "I learned that from an old guy." And I went, I said, "Well, I didn't say it. I said, it's Wayne Dwyer." He's like, "Who's Wayne Dwyer?" Go look him up. But it's true, and that's why I did the thing about manifesting. I put out this manifesting PDF. It's so important to watch what you say in your own head. So I have it. I've got a radar for it. I won't allow. I just won't allow negative thoughts. And if I do get, I sort them out. I go for a walk, and I do something, and it changes. So it's all simple, isn't it? But we're out of time, man.
Alrighty, well, thank you.
But I really appreciate you coming on. So say goodbye to everybody. And
goodbye, everybody.
Don't forget to sign up to the email list. That's the most important thing on this YouTube channel. Sign up to the email list. Otherwise, I won't be able to keep in touch with you if anything happens because they're already shadow banning the channel. So thanks, Anne. Say hello to you. See you later.
Great chatting. See ya.